Good evening and welcome to today's channeling. I am Ascended Master Adama, High Priest of Telos, and tonight's channeling is on the energetic development and evolution of the human being. Now, as always, I would like to start by first defining our terms for the evening. So the term evolution in this case will refer to the development of the collective as a whole, or the way that the collective of human beings changes over time as a whole. And the term development will refer to the way that an individual human being changes during their course of their lifetime. For in this way, evolution is much more of a collective phenomenon than it is an individual phenomenon. And we have decided to label this as such because evolution is usually only seen over the course of many generations, whereas development may be seen over the course of one lifetime. Of course, that being said, though, I would like to first speak briefly on the I would like to first speak briefly on the evolution of humanity as a whole, for the energetic atmosphere of the earth at this time is quite opportunistic. That's not quite the right word, but we're going to go with it because I like it. Alrighty then. Well, I would like to start, of course, at the beginning of this story, and that is with Lemuria and Atlantis. So, to hear the story of why humanity fell and the cataclysms that followed, and what I call the Great Fall, you may listen to the previously channeled message titled The Legend of Lemuria and the Fifth Dimensional Earth. And this will provide, as the title suggests, much of the legend of Lemuria. However, this will be an expanding on that knowledge. For the story that I am about to tell you, or the information I'm about to bestow on you, is a continuation of that information. So if you are not familiar with the legend of Lemuria, please acquaint yourself with it now. But after the fall of Lemuria and Atlantis, as was previously stated, there were many cataclysms of the elemental nature that occurred on the earth. And these cataclysms were a sort of purging and cleansing of not only negative energy, but also waste on the planet. For just as your society is now, these societies were quite wasteful. Granted, Lemuria slightly less so than Atlantis, but keyword here is slightly. Anywho, after these cataclysms settled down, there were a few beings, specifically those around modern-day Cairo in Egypt, who had previously formed underground bunkers, but during the cataclysms, their bunkers were indeed destroyed, and so they were forced to learn how to live in the desert on the lands next to the Nile River. So luckily they did indeed have the Nile, but this was an act of divine intervention, and this is why the Nile flows backwards, as you say. For if the Nile River had not been put into place through this wasteland that formed the Sahara Desert during the cataclysms, then the majority of human beings would have died out, and the comeback of humanity as a whole would have had very slim possibilities of succeeding. And so in this way, Spirit gifted the human beings the Nile River, and made its waters very rich in minerals so that the lands around it were quite fertile. And this is part of the reason why ancient Egypt became such a booming society, and this is also the times during which the pyramids were built. For the pyramids have had many purposes throughout the many years that they have been built, but the purpose of these people for after the cataclysms was a way of remembering and of passing on the stories of the beings from Atlantis and Lemuria. For indeed, these pyramids the first pyramid was built by the Atlanteans, and the second two pyramids were then constructed after this society had been able to recuperate enough. And this is indeed when this channel had her lifetime in ancient Egypt. However, I would like to note that it took very many years for not only humanity to be able to get to a point where they built the second two pyramids, but also to a point where society had recovered enough for the circumstances of this channel's previous lifetime to arise. And those circumstances were slavery. Yay, lucky me. Sarcasm, in case you couldn't pick it up. But that being said, there were a couple other civilizations, a couple other settlements that had survived these cataclysms, and indeed there was about one on each continent. However, there were still some, shall you say, barbaric tribes. I hesitate to use that term, for it has a negative connotation, and I do not mean for it to have a negative connotation, but indeed these people that I am describing are not very, shall we say, societally evolved. And so many of the beings, of the people who survived these cataclysms, indeed do still remain in seclusion, where they have not changed their way of life for many hundreds of thousands of years. But unfortunately, these tribes and civilizations are few and far between, thanks to the meddling nature of Western society. And indeed, at first this was Western Europe, but then, of course, it progressed on to the Americas. However, I would like to note that the East is not at fault here either, for any form of colonization is at fault here. And indeed, there were many Asian dynasties dynasties or many Asian rulers who had their fair share of colonization. But of course, that is neither here nor there, and I have more to speak on before we get to that point in history. Now, first, I would like to speak on how humanity lost this knowledge. And that is by the energetic frequency of Mother Gaia lowering. For after this purging occurred, Mother Gaia found that she had a bit of trauma, and this was also influenced by the collective trauma in the collective consciousness of humanity. For indeed, the Great Fall was quite traumatic on both a personal level and a collective level for all beings involved. And so, after this Great Fall, there was quite a bit of time during which the Earth had to process. However, unfortunately, due to the nature of the Earth and many of the lessons that one must learn in this planet, the human beings found that they were trapped in the cycle of ego and found themselves unable to spiral out of the ego into enlightenment. And so in this way, the human beings have been repeating their same cycles for quite some time now, about 10 to 12,000 years. However, I would like to note that that about the first quarter of those years, so about the first 4,000-ish years were spent in the times of ancient Egypt. For ancient Egypt had its peak about 2,000 years in, and then it fell for about 2,000 years afterwards. And this was a slow and steady fall during which the beings of ancient Egypt devolved from the fourth dimensional beings of the Atlanteans and the Lemurians into the modern day humans that you know and see today. And so in this way, you may find that the history books do not quite describe this in these same terms. And indeed, your carbon dating technique is quite faulty. So many of the dates that one may find from the carbon dating technique used in modern archaeology are quite unreliable. And so in this way, you may use your intuition to determine how old an artifact truly is, for indeed that is a gift that many beings have, which is to see the past of an object by touching it. But I digress. That is a topic for another day. But of course, that being said, after this de-evolution happened, there was a time of great darkness in society. And indeed, this was known as the medieval ages or the dark ages. And perhaps even the ages before this as well. For there are many inconsistencies in the timetables of modern historians with the actual way that things occurred. However, it is about accurate that Yeshua incarnated on this earth, give or take, about 2,020 years ago. And perhaps it is best to say that he was born 2,050 years ago and died about 2,020 years ago. But of course, these are just estimates, for as previously stated, this channel hates math. And even though this is not math, numbers are still not her strong suit. For as I have said previously, she frequently misconstrues and mixes up words and numbers, and for numbers, this may be worse than it is for words. So in this way, we will try to limit our use of numbers in these channelings, simply due to her current limitations. But as always, this may change as she learns and grows in her channeling expertise. Woohoo! Now, I would like to say that after this de-evolution and the Great Fall, there were a very select few groups, such as the Temple of Isis and the Temple of the Goddess in Avalon, or known as Avalon in modern day England. And these places were able to retain the knowledge that allowed Lemuria and Atlantis to flourish in the way that they did. And so, in this way, this knowledge was very protected, and it was held very close to one's chest. And many of the priests and priestesses of these temples and teachings found that they had to take vows to never disclose this information. And indeed, this has led to a modern day sense of taboo around spirituality and anything that is labeled as woo-woo, as this channel would say. But this being said, if you have had a past lifetime as one of these priests or priestesses, and many modern day light workers have, please release yourself of these vows of secrecy, for now is not the time to keep these secrets to yourself. Now is the time to speak your truth to the world and to release these so-called secrets of reality, these secrets of the universe into the public eye. For indeed, this is the time that Mother Gaia has been preparing for since the Great Fall. And it has been almost certainly confirmed that the whole of humanity will succeed in, or perhaps not the whole, but the collective of humanity will succeed in ascending to the fifth dimension as a majority. And this is quite a momentous occasion, but it will not come to pass unless all beings are sufficiently allowing themselves to live in an authentic and true manner that allows them to express every single facet of themselves. And this may be quite frightening, and it may trigger you at first, but please note that you need only call on your higher self and your higher guidance for assistance in this, and we will surely oblige, for that is what we are here for. Now, many of the teachings of Yeshua and Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene came from these schools. For indeed, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, and even a few of the apostles were trained in these secret schools, in these secret teachings. And many of these beings had undergone initiations of various beings, such as the goddess Isis, the goddess Hathor, the goddess Freya, and many, many more. And I would like to note that these beings go by many names. So if you feel you work with a being that is described by the characteristics associated with any of these goddesses, but goes by a different name, then perhaps this is the same energy. For thus is the nature of these beings of the higher realms. So, for example, Goddess Isis was known as Goddess Hera in Greek mythology, as opposed to Isis in Egyptian mythology. And in Roman mythology, she was known as Juno, and so on and so forth. But that being said, these teachings of Yeshua were planted as a seed in the collective consciousness of the whole of humanity during the age of Pisces. And now that we have entered into the age of Aquarius, it is time for these seeds to blossom and for the fruits of Yeshua's labor to finally be realized in the third dimension. And so any being who is striving to live from a heart chakra or striving to help others to live from a heart chakra is indeed helping in nurturing this seed to grow. And this is extremely valuable work. So if you work in this way, I thank you from the very bottom of my heart. And if you ever would require or would want help in your endeavors, please feel free to ask me, for I will never turn down an opportunity to help a light worker in the third dimension. For your work is invaluable to the collective. And although it may seem like you are trying to find a needle in a haystack, or like you're trying to count the grains of sand at the beach, I promise that your little effort may help more than you will ever realize. So please keep up your efforts and know that they are not going unnoticed. And those of us in the higher realms see all of the work that you are doing, and we applaud you, and we will reward you when the time is correct. Be that financially, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. But as always, you need only reach out to us to feel our gratitude and our presence. And so if you ever feel like your job is thankless, please just reach out and we will provide you with the encouragement and support that you need. But that is all that I would like to speak on for the collective nature of this evolution, and now I would like to speak on the individual development. So, as I have previously stated in other channelings, for the ideal development of a spiritual being in this current third dimensional society that is moving towards the fourth and fifth dimension, it is in the highest and best good for a being to undergo their first spiritual awakening between the ages of 16 and 22. And the most apt age would indeed be 18. For indeed, this would coincide with the entry into adulthood as viewed by the legal system of many modern countries. But that being said, there are many spiritual awakenings that may occur after this, and I would like to speak on the perhaps most direct route that one may take to achieve enlightenment, or perhaps the most visceral route that one may take to achieve enlightenment. And so, in this way, I use the term visceral not in a physical sense, but in an energetic sense, for this is the most logical and hands-on healing method that one may undergo to encourage themselves to reach enlightenment. Now, as I have previously said, the ideal, shall we say, overall trajectory for one's energetic development will start with them awakening their Merkaba field. And so the Merkaba field, as previously stated in other channelings, is the combination of their Ka, the intelligence of their human animal body, and their Ba, the intelligence of their higher self. And so when these two energies combine, they create a resonance in the physical body that creates the Merkaba field. And so for some beings, they must first work to increase this resonance so that way their Merkaba field will actually be useful. For if a Merkaba field is weak or the resonance is weak between the Ka and the Ba, then this will be of no use to the being. And you may think of it like using a lightsaber from Star Wars with like 10% of the power. Useless. I'm picturing a toothpick-sized lightsaber, and it's just really comical to me. But that being said, that is a pretty accurate analogy for what I'm getting at. Now, once one has increased this resonance and they are aware of their Merkaba field, then they may undergo a Kundalini rising or a Ka enmeshment. And these may occur simultaneously or separately, and they may occur in varying orders depending on the individual being's natural inclinations and strong suits. So, for example, this channel had her Kundalini rising first, and then she had her Ka enmeshment, simply due to past life trauma she had received and that was stored in her ka. But for other beings, this may occur inversely, or as I have said, these two phenomena may occur at the same time. Now, for more information on these two items, you may consult the channeling titled The Awakening and Embodiment of Kundalini and Ka. But for a brief refresher, during a Kundalini awakening, one will allow their Kundalini energy to permanently rise from the base of their chakra from the base of their root chakra to the top of their crown chakra in a winding serpentine pattern. And one may accomplish this feat during meditations during a Kundalini awakening. However, a Kundalini rising is characterized by the permanent occurrence of this phenomenon. And this may only occur when one has fully released and worked through all of the energetic blockages in their ba, in the embodiment of their higher self in this physical form. And so to do this, one may tap into each of their chakras individually and find the wounds in these chakras, or meditate on the chakra and notice where your brain goes, and notice the negative patterns and express curiosity about them, and then simply engage in shadow work as is commonly known. And so you may do this starting at your root chakra, working all the way up to your crown, and then you may imagine the Kundalini snake coiling at the base of your spine and rising up your spine and burning through all energetic remnants of these blockages. And so once this occurs completely, one may have completed access to their ba. However, as previously stated in the other channeling, this access will always have the potential to increase, which is why I choose not to use the word full, and why I chose to use the word completed. For the bridge will be complete, but the bridge may always handle a larger load. Now, as for a ka enmeshment, when this happens, one may find that in the caduceus metaphor of the ka body, with the chalice around the pineal gland and the snake's fangs pointing over the chalice, then one may find that after this enmeshment occurs, that the snake's fangs constantly drip venom, and so they may live their entire life in a slightly elevated state of joy. And this is indeed quite a momentous occasion, for this means that one has worked through all of the energetic blockages of their physical body. And perhaps in this day and age, this is a much more momentous feat than it is for one to clear the blockages in their ba, for your physical bodies are not provided a good environment in which to flourish in most societies today. And in this, I refer to the sedentary lifestyle that many Westerners engage in. Not to mention the horrible chemicals used in the foods in the Americas. But that is neither here nor there, and I will speak on that at a later date when the necessity arises. But that being said, after one has completed these two feats of healing, they may find that their healing journey is mostly, keyword mostly, complete. It is not completely complete. It is not totally complete, but it is mostly complete. For as always, it is a journey. Healing is a journey, not a destination. And so you will not be fully healed until the day you die and pass through the initiation of Horus. But you may be as healed as you will ever be after these two phenomenons occur. And to clarify, that is not a Kundalini awakening. It is a Kundalini rising that must occur to signal that you are as healed as you will get. For indeed, this life would be very boring if you were completely healed and had nothing to work through. You would get very bored very quickly. And this may sound harsh, but I promise you it is true. The grass is always greener on the other side. Now, that being said, after you have completed these two checkpoints, shall we say, after you have undergone your Kundalini rising and your Ka enmeshment, you may find that your Merkaba is stronger than ever. And then you may find that you are able to embody your rainbow body. Now, I would like to note that this is a unique phenomenon for beings who will ascend to mastery in this lifetime. And I would also like to note that just because you may not ascend to mastery in this lifetime does not mean that you will not ascend. For you may ascend from the school of earth, but you may not ascend into mastery. And so in this way, this is partially why so many souls wish to incarnate on earth, because you have the opportunity to ascend to mastery from the school of earth. But as I have said, if you are not able to activate your rainbow body in this lifetime, do not fret. You will still be able to ascend from the school of earth, and you may not have to come back to earth another time. But thus is the nature of earth, and for more information on this, please listen to the channeling titled The Nature of Existence and Reality. But back to the rainbow body. The rainbow body, in essence, is when one's chakras expand to the point that they encompass their entire auric field. And so, in this way, it may start in whichever chakra one's divinely masculine or feminine energy stems from. That did not quite come out how I wanted it to. So I will clarify. If one is more divinely feminine, if one has more divine feminine energy in their body, they may find that this phenomenon of their chakras expanding to encompass their entire auric field starts in their root chakra and goes up their chakra system. However, if one has more divinely masculine energy, they may find that the reverse occurs, and this phenomenon starts at their crown chakra and works down their chakra system. And so, in this way, one's energy turns from whatever their aura color is into the iridescent film, the iridescent shimmer of the Sophia creator energy. And indeed, this is described in the Sophia code as the golden dragon. However, perhaps dragon is not quite the right term in this way, for you will still be a human being. But dragon may be the best term, in that you will be able to achieve the highest potential of your human body. And since your human body was birthed by the world birthing dragon, or by a world birthing dragon, then your spirit was then birthed in the image of a dragon. And so thus is the nature of all beings who were brought into existence via the dragons of Sophia. And so these dragons, as is stated in the Sophia code, are beings of the highest order of seraphim who have chosen to merge their will with that of the creatrix, Sophia, and have decided that they will serve her will as if it is their own. And in this way, they find that they create quite many they may create many things in her name. And so when one is able to embody their rainbow body in earth, they may undergo a similar phenomenon or a similar rite of passage in which they consciously swear their will to align with that of the great goddess, of the creatrix of all that is and isn't. And in this way, they engage in the same, shall we say, knighthood, if you will, as the dragons of Sophia, as these seraphim. But as always, this is a choice of free will. So just because one awakens their rainbow body does not mean that they may choose to do this in the way that serves the collective. And indeed, that is what the goddess Sophia would call for. Now, if one chooses not to make this choice, they may find that they may follow a path that takes them to the path of mastery before the end of their lifetime. However, despite the benefits that this may have to an individual, it will not have quite as much benefit to the collective. And so it is being highly encouraged at this specific time on Earth that all beings who are being called to proceed down the path of enlightenment do so with the intention of aiding the collective, with the knowledge that it will still help their soul achieve enlightenment and mastery if it is in the cards for them, despite their choice to serve the collective and not oneself. For one may go just as far in their individual enlightenment path as they may in the collective path of enlightenment. And I hesitate to say that one is service to self and one is service to others, for indeed, if one is taking themselves down the path of enlightenment towards enlightenment, this is indeed considered still service to others, for your path towards enlightenment may help others without your intent. However, this help that may be offered from you will be lessened due to your conscious decision to not engage in the collective path. But this should not come as a surprise to any light worker, for these are merely universal truths that are being brought to light at this time to the collective. Now, after one's rainbow body has awakened, there indeed may be further paths that they may go down, as I have said, and if they choose to go down the path of the collective, they may then find that they are able to consciously embody other human bodies. And this may not mean that you have control over these bodies unless the being in charge of the body grants you this control. However, this may not be the case for many beings, for many beings are not aware that when they are being embodied in this way by another being of the third dimension, and even if they are, many beings have such difficulty letting go of control of their body that this will not be possible. But I do say this just to point out the possibilities of your human energy body when you are fully actualized in this way of the rainbow body. But also in this way, you may find that your Merkaba field gets continually and exponentially stronger in this rainbow body state. For in this way, the resonance between your higher self, your Ba, and your physical body, your Ka, will continually increase. For the more that your Ba is brought into your body, through your rainbow body, the higher the vibrational frequency your Ka must vibrate at in order to host the high vibrational nature of your Ba. And so this will create a positive feedback loop in which the more of your Ba embodies in your body through your rainbow body, then the higher the frequency your ka will resonate at, which will allow more of your ba to incarnate in your body. Geez, how many times did I just say body? That's hilarious. Indeed, that was slightly redundant, but I hope it makes sense, and if it doesn't, just listen to it over and over again until it does. Alrighty then, Adama. Tell them how it is. Indeed, this is perhaps the most subtle energy that I have transmitted through you yet. And so the energetic offering that is being offered through listening to the words of this channeling is that of expanding one's awareness of their energy body. And please note that if you are already extremely aware of your energy body and do not wish to receive this offering, that I am already aware of this, and if it is in your highest and best good, I am offering you a slightly different offering of grounding your energy. For grounding your energy may increase your awareness in a positive way, and as is always the goal with these channelings and these energetic offerings, I would only like to increase your experience of your spirituality in a positive way. And if one accepts the offerings that I provide during these channelings by listening to these words, then you may note that these offerings are individualized to you and will differ not only depending on each person, but also depending on each time you listen to the channeling, if you listen to each channeling more than once, or if you listen to a channeling more than once. But after the rainbow body is fully actualized and fully embodied, one may find that their energy body may continually expand and get bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually it encompasses the entire earth at all times. And so in this way, one may find that they fully embody the law of one. They fully embody the idea of oneness after their rainbow body is awakened and expanded to encompass all of the earth. And when this occurs, this is when one may find that they are able to undergo miracles or perform true miracles, as are said by modern day society. However, it is possible to do smaller miracles before this achievement. However, after the achievement of this expansion of the rainbow body aura, one may find that these miracles flow so naturally that they need not even think twice about them. And perhaps if they do think twice about them, then it will make it much harder, for they will get in their own way, as this channel is very aware of. Yep, that's my biggest vice right there. I always get in my own way, but we're working on it. Indeed, we are working on it, and you are doing well. Thanks, homie. Appreciate it. You are welcome, homie. Adama's calling me homie. I love it. But upon this achievement of oneness, one may find that this is the extent that one is able to expand their energy body in their human perception. For the human perception is quite limited by the organ of the brain. And for those who are not aware, the brain is limited in its ability to process bits of information at one time. And so if one tries to expand their energy body beyond the confines of this earth, they may find that if one wishes to fully embody the energy of the entire earth in their rainbow aura field and then expand it from there, they may find that the light from the central sun is too dense in information for their soul to process, for their embodied soul to process. And so, in this way, one may exit their body into the astral realms and leave the planet, but one may not embody the energy of the planet and expand in a radial way like this, for the information would be too much for the brain organ to handle. And there would be too many bits of information flowing into the brain at once. And so it is not recommended to try this, but please note that if you are able to attempt this, that your guides will protect you from anything super harmful. But please do not try it, for it will serve absolutely no purpose, and it may even short circuit your energy body to a certain extent, which would be quite unpleasant. But as I have said, not harmful permanently, but perhaps a bit temporarily harmful. Oops, don't do that. Now, when one is able to expand their energy into complete oneness in this way, they may find that this is when they are in complete alignment with the creatrix Sophia. And this is when, and one may only accomplish this expansion to oneness in this way when they have chosen to walk the collective path of Sophia, and they have chosen to align themselves with the highest and best good of the collective as a whole. So if one chooses not to walk this path, they may find that they are limited at their rainbow body and may not be able to expand it to encompass the entirety of the earth. And this is why it is recommended to fully allow yourself to walk the collective path. But if you are not drawn to walk this collective path, please do not force yourself, for it may indeed be your soul's purpose to walk the individual path, for this is not unheard of. It is just indeed a bit rare at this specific time. But as always, that will be something that one must determine on an individual level. Now, if one is able to fully embody their rainbow body, they may find that they are able to pass through the initiation of Horus with relative ease, for their ego will take a big step back after this embodiment of the rainbow body, and they may almost completely forget, or they may almost completely They may almost completely undo the effects of the veil of forgetting. Wow, that was so difficult to get out. But this is one of the blessings of the rainbow body, for one may only achieve the rainbow body when they have learned upwards of 90% of the lessons that they have incarnated here on Earth to learn. And for the majority of beings, it may be closer to 95 to 98%, but for some beings, it may be as low as even 90. So again, that will be up to the individual and their higher self and guides. But in order for one to achieve their rainbow body completely, they must be vibrating at a vibrational frequency of at least 650 or above, according to the current most popular measurement of vibrational frequency. However, for some beings, as I have said, this may be more, this may be less. And this is indeed almost at the level of enlightenment. For In order for one to be able to truly expand their rainbow body and encompass all of the earth, they must be vibrating at the level of enlightenment, which is about 700, give or take, depending on each individual being. Now, this being said, you may achieve these high vibrational states without the use of this method here. But as I have said, this is the most tactile, the most hands-on, the most visual, perceptible, tangible way of describing the path to enlightenment. And so it may be the easiest for your three-dimensional brains to latch onto. But the last thing that I would like to speak on is how one may go about engaging in activating their rainbow body. So how do you expand each of your chakras into your rainbow body? So first, you will determine whether or not you are ruled by your divine masculine or your divine feminine. So for this channel, she is ruled by her divine feminine, for she is in a female body and identifies as a female. But if you are identifying as a male, you may start at your crown chakra. However, we will talk about this from a feminine perspective. So you will start at the chakra of your choice, so the root chakra in this case, and you will start your meditation however you usually do. And then you will tune into your energy body and you will imagine your root chakra expanding in size and color to encompass all of your aura, however big or small it may be. And after this is completed, you will hold this there for as long as possible, and you may notice any thoughts that come up, any limiting beliefs, any tension in your body, and attempt to work through it and release it. And simply use this visualization tactic as a guide for your shadow work. And then once you are able to maintain your root chakra expanded like this for quite some time, you may then, while your root chakra is also expanded like this, imagine your sacral chakra expanding like this as well, and rinse and repeat this process until it has been accomplished with all of your bodies, or all of your chakras. And after this is completed, you may then imagine that your aura as a whole, with all of your chakra energy iridescing through it, is expanding in diameter and in radius in all directions until eventually your energy body encompasses all of the entirety of planet Earth. And in this way, you may imagine that your heart chakra begins to align with the center of the earth, the core of the earth, the heart chakra of the earth. But in this way, in this latter visualization, you may find that it may be months before you are able to accomplish this, for this is quite an intensive task, and many beings will find it difficult to expand their energy beyond 10 feet at the beginning. So, as always, please have grace with yourself and be aware that this process will have a learning curve to it. And I would also like to note that even if you have not fully accomplished your Kundalini rising and your Ka enmeshment, you may still attempt this visualization method, and it will help you in clearing out blockages. However, it will not help you in your activation of your rainbow body until you have fully accomplished your Kundalini rising and Ka enmeshment. But that being said, practicing this visualization now before you have completed those two checkpoints will indeed help you when it gets to, or when the time arises for you to awaken your rainbow body. And I would like to note that there are some myths, some lore that Lyrans have a unique rainbow body. And indeed, they do have a unique rainbow body, for their auras are usually inherently rainbow. And so this is partially because of the way in which the Lyrans were birthed directly from Sophia. And so she did use a dragon, but she used a rainbow dragon as opposed to one of the iridescent white dragons. And the difference between the two is indeed subtle, but perhaps these rainbow dragons may appear a bit more like unicorns or Pegasus, and they do not like to be called any of these beings, and do not like to be called rainbow dragons, for they do not like to be associated with the aggression of the myths of the dragons in the third dimension. And so they much more align with the spiritual mythology of the unicorns and will choose to call themselves the unicorns. But for many beings, they may not look quite like unicorns. And so this is why many beings will call them the rainbow dragons. But these are the creators of some very unique species that have lived all across existence and are now being incarnated on Earth to learn lessons and live out karma from different planets and lifetimes. Now, that being said, when the Lyrans were birthed from these rainbow dragons, these unicorns, they were gifted some of this energy. And in this energetic gift, these Lyrans were given an enhancement of their rainbow body. So these Lyrans may have access to their rainbow body much more easily than other beings, and once they have awakened their rainbow body, they may find that all of the symptoms of an activated rainbow body are increased. And for anyone who is curious about these symptoms, these are no different than any of the other symptoms of a spiritual awakening on an increasing level. So, of course, this will be an increase of the higher and the lower faculties, an increase in awareness, an increase in groundedness, an increase in energy from not only source, but also one's higher self. And if one has undergone any initiations, this will be an increase in these initiations, and also an increase in magnetism and one's ability to manifest and attract specific outcomes depending on their natural abilities. But of course, if there is something that I have not mentioned here that is a part of your spiritual awakening, this may also be a part of the awakening of your rainbow body. So, as always, the sky is the limit. Your imagination is the limit. And if you have something that you desire to acquire, that rhymed, during a spiritual awakening, then you need only ask your guides, and we will be able to provide you with either this knowledge or this ability or this purging or clearing or whatever it is that you are asking for. But that is all that we have for this evening. And as always, it was a great joy and a pleasure. Toodaloo!